What is going on, Raptors Nation? It is Luca here back with another video. Hope you're all doing well. The Toronto Raptors just made the biggest signing of free agency. They brought back Garrett Temple. Come on, guys. This is my championship. Garrett Temple is back with the Toronto Raptors, and we know how valuable he is to this team. He has agreed to a one-year deal to return to Toronto. Woj just reported this not too long ago. Obviously, Temple's not going to play a whole time. He's more of that veteran presence, veteran leader in the locker room. And look, it's great to have Temple back. But basically, it's going to be a quiet free agency for the Toronto Raptors. I mean, so far, they have just re-signed their guys, extending Scotty Barnes, bringing back IQ, bringing back Temple. And really, when you look at what the Raptors can do, it's not a whole ton. Now, before we get into the latest regarding Raptors free agency and if they can, in fact, do anything, I do want to kind of go through some of the bigger signings that have happened. So Paul George is headed to Philadelphia. That was the massive news. If you were up like me at 3:30 a.m. this morning, you saw the news. The NBA is crazy like that. It's never an odd time for news to drop. Paul George is going to Philadelphia. We learned that Klay Thompson is going to the Dallas Mavericks. Hardenstein going to OKC, I thought was a really, really nice move for them. But of course, the biggest news, Paul George going to Philadelphia. As all of a sudden you look at the Raptors division, guys, it is tough. Remember, the Raptors are in the Atlantic Division. Thank God this isn't NFL where divisions mean something, but the Raptors, they have arguably the toughest division now when you have the Celtics, Sixers, Knicks, and then the Nets are obviously rebuilding. But you look at the Raptors, guys, I mean, there's not going to be much left. And really, the biggest update we got, and, why I wanted to make today's video is in large part to what we learned about Gary Trent Jr. So you look at Gary Trent Jr. a year ago, he opted to pick up the option on the last year of his 3-year deal worth $52 million. He signed prior to the 2021-2022 season, and he figured that he would have better opportunities this summer. And apparently that's not going to be the case. It does look like Gary Trent Jr. made the wrong choice because Michael Grange put out a piece on Sportsnet saying that there's real doubt that Trent Jr. will even be offered a deal for the mid-level exception. By definition, the NBA's average salary amount, and which starts at $12.5 million for the 2024-2025 season. So that's crazy to me because Gary Trent Jr., you look at, the season that he had, this is a guy that is still one of the premier three-point shooters in the league. And he's not going to make anywhere close to the $18.6 million that he made last season, as this new report is indicating. And that's wild to me because, Gary Trent Jr.'s stock has just fallen. It's crazy. You would think this guy was a scrub. Like, he can still be a valuable piece. So what this means is, theoretically, it does leave the door open now for the Raptors to bring back Gary Trent Jr. on a cheaper price than they expected. But do I think the Raptors are going to bring him back, even considering this? No, I don't. I do think the tenure of Gary Trent Jr. being in Toronto is over. I do think both sides are going to part ways. You just look at both sides here. It doesn't make sense at this point for the Raptors to bring back Gary Trent Jr. I know some of you are probably thinking, Luke, if the Raptors can get it for cheap, he's a shooter. He's going to help in that regard. Bring him back. But you look at the grand picture, guys, and you kind of look at what the Raptors did in the draft. They drafted 4 rookies. They really have added a lot of young talent to this team, and they're a rebuilding team. They're really going to prioritize developing these guys next season. So having a guy like Gary Trent Jr., who is not old, he's 25 years old, but they're not going to look to, take away from the development of these younger guys by playing a guy and prioritizing Trent Jr. Like, that ship has sailed for him. So it does make sense for the Raptors to let him walk, seek things through, because the Raptors, they're not looking to compete now. They're not looking to contend. Their main focus is to develop these young guys. And, you draft Grady Dick last year. You got Jacoby Walter. You don't want to take away from those guys. You don't want to take away any opportunities, any reps. So it doesn't make sense, bringing back Gary Trent Jr. when he would be a lot better suited on a contending team. And that's where I ultimately do see Gary Trent Jr. landing. The Denver Nuggets have lost a lot of key pieces. The Lakers have missed out on everybody so far. I do think Gary Trent Jr. will likely head for contender. And it makes sense because Gary Trent Jr.'s skill set and just the fact that he's been in the league, he knows what it takes, he plays well on both ends. That would be the type of player that a contending team would be looking to add to kind of add some of that nice depth to their bench as they look to make a playoff run. So I do think Gary Trent Jr.'s time in Toronto is over. It's not officially over, but I would be very surprised if the Raptors bring him back, even if Gary Trent Jr.'s price point is at its lowest right now, which it looks like it is, which is just wild to me. Because again, you would think Gary Trent Jr., based on what the market is for him right now, is a bad player. He's not. He is still a valued player, and his skill set, a guy that's able to hit the three and play some defense is highly sought after. So it was a little surprising that I saw that report from Grange. So we'll see if that report is in fact true and what Trent Jr. ends up signing for. But yeah, you're looking at a guy that, shot it 39% from three. So it was wild that I saw this, but I don't think the Raptors are going to bring back Trent Jr. And then you kind of look at now the Raptors depth chart after, this Garrett Temple signing. A point guard, you're looking at Emmanuel Quickley, Davion Mitchell, Javon Freeman Liberty, who's on a non-guaranteed deal, Shed, Carden, and then shooting guard, you're looking at Dick, Brown, Walter, small forward, Barrett, Abaji Temple, power forward, Scotty Barnes, Vezenkov, which, by the way, there was a report floating around that he was going to go back to Europe. Grange shut that down. As of now, he's still on the Raptors roster. Boucher and Mobo, Pirtle, Olynyk, Carlson on the two-way, and Chomsky on the two-way as well. So you kind of look at this team and really, what's next for the Raptors in free agency? Probably not much, guys, because I would say, barring a Bruce Brown, even Chris Boucher trade, I don't see the Raptors doing anything else because I don't see them bringing back Trent Jr. like I just said. They obviously got the signings done that they needed to. Remember, War is also an unrestricted free agent. I could see him walk now at this point. So I think the biggest pieces for the Raptors for the remainder of this offseason is, can they find a deal for Bruce Brown? I think that's the biggest piece because they picked up the team option. There's obviously been a lot of reports suggesting that the Raptors want to trade him, but then you see kind of what Bruce Brown's put out. Maybe he sticks around for the summer, and maybe it's a matter of the Raptors look to move him around the trade deadline. So that's even a possibility out there. But I think, the moves that are left to be made for this Raptors team, if there are any, a potential Bruce Brown trade and a potential Chris Boucher trade. But even at that, I don't think the Raptors are going to get much of anything for Boucher because you kind of look at this roster all of a sudden coming together. Yeah, this is what it's going to be, right? So we'll see what happens with the rest of free agency. But I kind of just wanted to provide an update and give you my take on things. But yeah, guys, it looks like the Raptors are not going to do a whole ton. But let me know, do you want to see Gary Trent Jr. back? And do you see the Raptors doing much of anything from this point? Like I said, I think the biggest move for the Raptors from this point on, if there is going to be a move, is going to be a Bruce Brown trade. I still do think that is lurking just because you have some contending teams that could look to get aggressive. I mean, the East just got a lot top heavy. There's some Western Conference teams that there's a little bit of pressure on them now to make some moves. In Golden State, Denver, they just lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So I think the Bruce Brown trade, it could still happen this offseason. And, I would probably put it at like 60% something happens this offseason, 40% it doesn't, which is kind of high. But we know the Raptors, they like to draw things out. They like to be patient. Theoretically, I mean, they don't have to trade Bruce Brown this offseason. They could keep him on the roster and then look to trade him around the trade deadline if they don't get what they want back for him now. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you see happening. Hit a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. That is it for me. It's Lucas signing off. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you all again in the next one.